So our on-snow training today has been canned. As you can see, the visibility is not great. I'm on my way back down the mountain. Gets kind of tricky to train ski cross when you can't see jumps and the landings. So never mind, that's okay. I have plenty that I can do down in the valley, including answering some of the questions that you guys have asked me about for my latest blog post. Probably my favorite thing about being an athlete is that I'm constantly working on ways to improve my performance, and I get the luxury of being able to look after my body and really learn about my body. I get to travel amazing places and create a network of really, really amazing people. The ski industry, whilst it's global, is a really, really small community. We're very tight-knit. So it's really probably my favorite thing about being an athlete, I guess, is constantly looking for ways to be better and sharing these experiences with other people and hoping that I can influence other people, whether they're in an athletic career or not, to search for better ways that they can be themselves and learn more about themselves. I had another question that was about COVID and what it's like with the restrictions over here. Look, the goalposts are changing every day, and every country seems to have a very different approach to managing COVID-19. If there was anyone else in this gondola right now, I would have my face mask on, and whenever I'm out in public, so outside of my apartment, I have my mask on. It's not mandatory, but we're just trying to do the little things that we can do to protect ourselves and others. Health and well-being is probably the biggest priority right now in terms of performance for me. And COVID-19 is just now part of that, and it's part of our daily lives. The restrictions here are very different to what we've had in Australia. Some countries are going quite radical, like Victoria did, not necessarily to the extent that Melbourne did, but certainly things are starting to close down a bit. So our racing in December is really uncertain at the moment. But the only thing that we can do is look after ourselves and keep doing the right things and make sure that we can maximize any training opportunities in a safe manner. For me, I'm trying to manage stress and limit the opportunity to get sick. So normally where I might have had 15 runs here in Suss Bay on this full-length course, I'm sort of cutting that volume down just to keep the stress on my body a bit low. And really, we're avoiding seeing anyone. So normally when I might hang out with my friends from Switzerland or Canada of an afternoon, or go and do a team training session with any one of those other nations, it's just not possible this year. So I guess in terms of COVID restrictions, we have our own protocols that we follow as the Australian team, and we then also have to respect the restrictions or the guidelines from the local governments that we're in. So it can be confusing, but it's the best way forward for us. And like I said, we're just taking everything day by day. I've also been asked what it's like living majority of the year with my coach, Sean. I'm really fortunate that Sean and I have been friends for a really, really long time. So we have a really good balance of our professional and personal time. The two do intertwine all the time. I mean, we're a small team, so you kind of have to hang out with the people that you're working with. So we like to think of us in the ski cross team, no matter how many athletes we have with us, we're a family. You can't always choose your family, but you can choose to enjoy the experiences together. There is no shortage of laughter in our household. We have really mastered the art of having a good time and seeing, I guess the silver lining in any situation, and having a bit of comic relief does kind of take the pressure off.
Oh, the sun's up filming. Oh, sun back.
But when it comes to performance, it's all business. It's a fine art, I think, living with people that you're kind of forced to live with, but I think we do a really good job of it. question that I got was, what is my training schedule on and off skis? Well, I think in the past I've talked a lot about what happens off season when I'm in Australia and I'm doing lots of gym and stuff. So let me talk you through a typical day in Susvey. In Susvey, we train at around 4,000 meters of elevation. So the journey up in the morning to get on snow takes between 40 minutes and an hour, depending on how many people are traveling and the weather conditions. You take 2 cable cars and then a Metro Alpine train up to the very top of the mountain. Generally then I'll spend around 4 hours on the hill, whether that's doing some technical free skiing, some GS, or some time on the ski cross track, so doing starts or full length runs. Then I'll make my way down around lunchtime and have a snack or a more substantial amount of food, depending on how much I've been able to eat on the hill. And I'll do some sort of session in the afternoon. Now, depending on the volume that we are having on snow, or also the patterns of weather, because we're in a glacier, the weather is so unreliable. That'll kind of depend on what I'm doing. But typically, I'll do some sort of lift or an aerobic session on the bike. I'm really fortunate to have a little bit of gym equipment here with me. And I always do some sort of dynamic movement, whether that's some mobility work, yoga. So all of these sort of elements come together every day, and the aim is to get that little bit of work in, but also enhance the recovery for the next day of training or performance. I was waiting for this question to come up. What about Simbo? Well, Simbo is in Australia training for his Ironman and doing his normal thing and looking after Sochi. And unfortunately this year it's not looking like we will be reunited until I come out of hotel quarantine whenever it is that I get to head home. So we have been married for 9.5 years, and this will be the longest time that we've been apart. Looking like it'll be around 6 months. So it's going to be very challenging, and I'm very thankful for him, allowing me to just take off and kind of leave the house in a absolute form of chaos, which he really is, the one that reorders everything at home, and he's the real solid rock for me. But I'm very thankful that he's got some great communities around him. He's a member of Vipers Run Club in Manly, which are just all about supporting other men and getting active, and he's really thrown himself into that. He's also obviously, like I said, he's training for an Ironman, so he's got a great bunch of guys on the bike that he rides with, and knowing that he's got his own stuff going on does make it easier, I think, to come overseas and be separated. But, it is really hard, and I'd love to say that over the years it's gotten easier, and it hasn't. It really gets harder every year. Especially this year, we've spent the most time ever together due to COVID. So now to go from being together all the time to not together, I think it's going to be harder. Whereas normally I would be here in Susvey or in Europe for an autumn training camp. October 20th, I'd probably head back to Australia for 3 weeks. So I'd get another 3 weeks with him, of sun and gym, and then head back over in November. Whereas this year we've sort of come mid-October and we're doing that long stint. So thank you, Benny, for allowing me to, chase my dreams and continuing to support me on this really bumpy but amazing path. What do I get up to in my downtime between sessions and stuff? Well, I am actually working while I'm on the road. I'm a coach at Joe's Base Camp, an awesome gym in Brookvale, and we service a lot of our clients remotely. So it's kind of been cool for me this year to bring my work on the road. Normally things would sort of wrap up for me in October, and I sort of have to lay the groundwork again when I head home and generate new work. So this way I'm able to continue to look after my athletes and adventurers as they want to do the remarkable things that they want to do in their lives, from becoming a ski cross athlete to wanting to climb Everest, or even wanting to climb Kosciuszko for the first time. So we have all sorts of types of people that we look after at the gym. So that's really cool and keeping me quite busy. But I do watch quite a bit of Netflix. I've just finished watching Emily in Paris, which I just fell in love with. Thought it was an awesome show. I try and do as much reading as possible, and I do listen to a lot of podcasts. My favorite podcast at the moment is a podcast called Finding Mastery that my awesome sports psych Stacey got me onto last year. This guy's a performance sports psychologist, and he interviews the most remarkable people, from athletes to professionals to musicians and artists. It's really quite cool, grasping a new idea on what performance looks like for different people. So I'm really enjoying that. And other than that, I just try and stay as connected as possible with the people that I want to, whether that's when they're over here or they're at home. With COVID, I can't just go and hang out with my Canadian or Swiss friends like what I would normally here. So we're still catching up via WhatsApp or on Skype, and, just trying to make sure that I'm staying as connected to my people as possible. Well, I hope you found that interesting and informative. Please, if you have any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook for more updates. It's been awesome to share a little bit of a glimpse into my life on the road. Bye.